And let me now go back to his history. So Prabhuji was born in Macedonia, in Mediterranean, and thereafter in 1981, when his family moved to New York.
In 61.
In 61, sorry, in 1961, when his family moved to...
I better tell my own story.
I'm so sorry, Prabhuji. In 1961, when the family moved to New York, Prabhuji also moved thereafter, and it was he was actually very much interested in music, in transcendental meditation. He was introduced to, he was already acquainted with Vedic philosophy through some other gurus, and he had great fortune of coming across devotees doing Sankirtan. And because Prabhuji always liked music, he got attracted to them, and he was like, wow, this is great. And thereafter, his barber was the first devotee who gave him the copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is, and a copy of Back to Godhead. And thereafter he was like introduced to ISKCON, and he started getting deep into it. And then he moved to Miami, where he met Srila Prabhupada on July 4th, 1976, which was also the 2000th anniversary of US independence.
No, the 200th anniversary. And that was Washington, D.C. I met Prabhupada in Washington. I was in Miami Temple, but we went to Washington traveling because Prabhupada was going to be there for the 4th of July. That's the 200th anniversary. America's still a baby, they're not that old.
and then Prabhuji has been the president of Miami Temple for almost 9 years, 7 to 9 years. He was a Sankirtan leader. He really loved distributing books. And thereafter he came to India, and I said, like, he was the vice president from 1993 to 2000, and since then, almost last 11 and a half, 12 years, he has been the president of Vrindavan Temple, the main center of our Krishna consciousness movement. And he's a wonderful devotee. He's good in everything he does, from kirtan to management to classes. Awesome personality, very charming, and it's like he's getting everyone, different personalities getting together. And we are very fortunate to have Prabhuji with us to speak about his own experiences and how Prabhupada struggled in West, and how he expanded the movement. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining us. And my apologies.
We know how doctors exaggerate things. You doctors, you always exaggerate things. I am insignificant.
No, you're not, Prabhuji.
So we're talking to many people, or how many devotees are on board today?
They're 24, 25, Prabhuji, they are taking in.
Nice. This is in Bangalore?
Yes, Prabhuji, Bangalore.
Okay, very good. Dr. Gore, thank you so much. He always has a good smile on his face, very happy to serve. And he did a lot of service in Sri Vrindavan Dham as well, helping. And now, again, he's doing more service, more preaching. So I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, can fulfill the desires of everyone, and full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So we have anything in particular besides glorification of Srila Prabhupada? We just had a wonderful, wonderful festival for Janmashtami, and several days leading up to the Janmashtami celebration, we had many Prabhupada disciples speaking about Prabhupada, their memories, their appreciation of the gift, the 125th anniversary. So, Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun militam jena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistang Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namao Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascha Chadishatarane. Born in the darkness of ignorance, my spiritual masters opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. We offer respectful obeisances to our spiritual master. So all of you, most of you are from Bharsha, and then it's very, very special. Obviously, Lord Shri Krishna appears in India and the Vedic literature. This knowledge of the purpose and goal of life is given by Guru and Krishna. So although Krishna manifested this whole world, created Lord Brahma, to create all the other demigods, he created this material world for the living entities to come and have the various experiences that they're having. I just actually saved something which I really liked, and I'd like to read just a little bit of that. It says, insurmountable eternal time imperceptibly overcomes those who are too much attached to family affairs and are always engrossed in their thought. I am now happy. I have everything in order. My bank balance is quite enough. I can now give my children enough estate. I am now successful. The poor beggar sannyasis depend on God, but they come to beg from me. Therefore, I am more than the supreme God. These are some of the thoughts which engross the insanely attached householders, who is blind to the passing of eternal time. Our duration of life is measured, and no one is able to enhance it even by a second against the scheduled time ordained by the supreme will. Such valuable time, especially for the human being, should be cautiously spent, because even a second passed away imperceptibly cannot be replaced, even in exchange for thousands of gold coins amassed by hard labor. Every second of human life is meant for making ultimate solution to the problems of life: repetition, birth, death, and revolving in the cycle of 8,400,000 different species of life. The material body, which is subject to birth and death, disease and old age, is the cause of all suffering of living being. Otherwise, living being is eternal. It's never born, nor does he ever die. Foolish persons forget this problem. They do not know at all how to solve the problems of life, but become engrossed in temporary family affairs, not knowing that eternal time is passing away imperceptibly, that their measured duration of life is diminishing every second without any solution to the big problem, namely repetition of birth and death, disease, old age. This is called illusion. It carries on, but we get the basic message and understanding. So yes, miraculously, I was born in Macedonia, which is in Europe. My father had to escape there because it was actually a communist country back in the late 50s. And my brother and my mother, we came to America. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. It took a little while to learn to speak English because I was like 6 years old. I came in from a foreign country. And as we grew up, I was interested in music. And I would see the devotees chanting in Buffalo and the Harinam Sankirtan. It was very attractive. And I was wondering why I was attracted to transcendental meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And at that time, there were so many different groups. So Srila Prabhupada, being sent by Krishna directly, I mean, I don't know if all of you have read the Prabhupada Lilamrita, Satsarup Maharaj. It's 2 or 3 books, I'm not sure these days, but it actually gives a detailed, more in-depth understanding of how Srila Prabhupada, born in a pure Vaishnava family, 1896, worshipping Radha Krishna from his birth, just like Parikshit Maharaj, and also Rath Yatra, his father gave blessings, guidance. He prayed all the sadhus that Prabhupada would be a pure devotee of Srimati Radharani. And Srila Prabhupada, given the spark in 1922 by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and the first meeting, it's like you see Krishna's putting together. Okay, he appeared as Krishna and Balaram, spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Okay, Kali Yuga is progressing, came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, and the Goswamis, and all of his Nitya Siddha devotees and associates. He instructed them to write books on devotional service, reestablish religious principles, Sanatan Dharma, excavate the importance of Vrindavan Dham, the holy places, especially Lord Chaitanya was so eager to come to Sri Vrindavan Dham. So when you look at the history of religion and the history of the world, all there was originally, long time ago, there was Rajarshis, emperors who were representatives of God, like Prithu Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, and different Bharat Maharaj, Bharat Varsha. They would give guidance to the citizens, but in this Kali Yuga, as it was progressing, Lord Chaitanya figured they have no ability to perform the sacrifice, yajna. We're all born in this world, and we have a gift of the human form of life, and we're all indebted. We're indebted to the God. Without the sunshine, we cannot live. Without the rainfall, the wind, the breezes, and all the different gifts of the demigods, which are empowered by the Supreme Lord. So just imagine how fortunate that we all are, that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, through his desire to save the conditioned soul, just like Advaita Acharya prayed to the Lord, you please personally appear, because people are lost and they're engaged in sinful activities driven by passion and ignorance, and they don't know what is real religion, what is irreligion, who is punishable, who is not punishable, what are the laws of nature. So the Lord appeared and he gave that instruction. So we are Rupa Nugas, Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. We're followers of Rupa Goswami, because unless one follows the teachings and the behavior of the Goswamis, Rupa Goswami in particular was given the special Shakti by the Supreme Lord to reestablish what is devotional service. One cannot awaken his love for Krishna. So many of us, I also started university, and I thought by TM, by meditation, I can, expand my consciousness, and or people are looking for either some spiritual benefits. Most religions, they pray for the health of their family and the wealth of their family, and they don't have clear understanding. So because of the confusion of Kali Yuga, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was prayed for by Bhaktivinoda Thakur to please you come and send me a ray of Vishnu, someone who can push on. So it's almost like a relay. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Goswamis, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Evam Parampara Praptam Amang Rajarshayo Vidhu. This is actually the Parampara system, because we follow Sadhu Shastra Guru. Authentic literatures are being presented for this purpose, so that we can actually have proper guidance, not simply blindly following some charismatic person just because people claim him to be some incarnation of God or some Jagat Guru who's never left his village. But Srila Prabhupada, after being instructed by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, you can see how he was trying to adjust like all the rest of us. That we have our families, we have our mother and father, brothers and sisters. We have our wife, our children, and our responsibilities. In the beginning, many of the yogis and swamis who came to the West, they attracted middle-aged, ladies and people that would give them money. And there's more of a fad, a fashion to have a guru, some kind of, like ornament. Oh, you have a guru? Yes, I have a guru. But Srila Prabhupada, when he was at the struggle that he underwent, first of all, it was just amazing to see that he tried to establish the teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in the League of Nations and Jhansi, and so many reverses. And Prabhupada said the time is not right. The time is not right. He was seeing the temples, he was seeing the devotees, he had this vision, and the books and the struggle the last 5 years prior to coming to America, translating Srimad Bhagavatam, going to Radha Damodar. First he went to the Gopalji temple on the bank of the Jamuna for some time, but then when he went to Radha Damodar, he was the perfect place for writing books, because the Vrindavan, the excitement of the pilgrims coming there, and Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswamis and the various samadhis of the Goswamis were just inspirational for Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada wrote that final letter a fortnight before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta passed away from this world, that I am a grahastha, I'm not one of the sannyasis doing active service. What can I do? Again, you go to the West, what you've learned, you give to help people understand the Bhagavad Dharma, Sanatana Dharma. So Srila Prabhupada translated, printed, and begged to get the money just to print the books to bring with him to save the world, really, because the whole world we're all drowning. I mean, I really don't know about the Mediterranean that much. I was young when I left, but when we were in Buffalo, like Prabhupada said, the hippies, the younger generation, we were experimenting with so many drugs and so many different ideas of how to become happy in this world and enjoy life. Everyone wants to enjoy. So Srila Prabhupada, he underwent the sacrifices. Do read the Lilamrita, it's very beautiful. And most of the devotees, they serve Prabhupada through Vani. I remember that we're in our temple and Prabhupada was in Vrindavan at the before leaving this world. And we were all supposed to go to come and see, but we're maintaining the temples and doing our Sankirtan and book distribution. So the spiritual masters, in his instructions, obviously from the thousands of devotees that have been initiated, some had, several handfuls had that direct interpersonal relationship. My friend Srila Prabhu served Prabhupada almost 3 years. He comes over my place daily, we read a little bit, but it's nice to hear from the intimate pastimes of the Guru and Srila Prabhupada's loving attitude with his devotees, his encouraging words, how the ladies, he appreciated all their efforts and all their contributions. And most of the successful book distributors were empowered Matajis as well. I did spend, I know when I first came to the temple, the mood was book distribution. Oh, you'd be a good book distributor. I came around 75, so I wasn't one of the early devotees, but I feel very good having a few years of serving Prabhupada before leaving, before Prabhupada left this world. But I don't see that Prabhupada has left, because the reading of the books has been emphasized. The GBC puts out the reading, encouraging newsletters, and it's Prabhupada is there physically, so you should not feel like I don't have that personal association with Prabhupada. Prabhupada is speaking on every page, and also hearing his lectures. Have a habit of hearing the lectures and reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So Miami Temple was a very vibrant temple. Prabhupada, he came in 1975 to Miami Temple. He went around the world 14 times, encouraging all the devotees so that they don't waste their lives like all the people in this world who think themselves to be happy that I have a good education, I have good business, you know, my family is everything. Family is everything, but family should be engaged in Krishna consciousness. I don't know how it is that after meeting the devotees, I told the band members, okay, you know, I want to go on a different path, different journey. I was always wondering what else is there? Okay, so you might have some profession, whether you're a doctor, engineer, or musician, or philosopher, whatever. But how much do we have? How much do we really know? It's all based on speculation of the scientists and all the educated professors in this world, and the different theories. The Darwinian theory, everyone takes that as a bit of a joke in the sense that it has totally full of holes. But if you examine that Srila Prabhupada, he was intolerant of philosophy which does not recognize the personality of Godhead. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was intolerant of those who manipulated the Vedic literatures to try to prove that this absolute truth is some impersonal oneness. We are actually God covered by illusion. And once we realize that we're God, then we're liberated. Prabhupada, through the teachings of Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, has taught us how to live and how to. We had a mood in the early days of just enthusiastic service for Prabhupada. Not that that mood is not now. Many devotees are serving nicely, but times have changed. Back in those days, we didn't have cell phones and, you know, little video facilities and internet, and all, even when I served in Miami Temple as a Sankirtan leader, so we'd be going to the airports, to the ports, organizing traveling Sankirtan parties. That was our life. We get up early in the morning because we were enthusiastic about the day on the battlefield. And that means you're actually enthusiastic. You'd offer your obeisances and do the whole tilak and shower and be eager to be in the temple room and excited about greeting the deities. The simplicity of what Prabhupada gave us is a very scientific formula. And all the devotees together would be very enthusiastically doing the Mangal Arati and the Shringade prayers, Tulsi Devi, chanting together, preparing for the day. Because to control the mind and senses, everyone has this phobia about meeting people or maybe going out, and naturally our tendency is towards more comfortable, easygoing lifestyle. So you have to come out of your comfort zone to be on the battlefield of Sankirtan. Because the four principles, books are the basis, preaching is the essence, purity is the force, utility is the principle. So we were very careful about big book distribution. In the beginning, we were only doing Back to Godhead magazines, but then we had devotees who visited us, Dharma Prana and Karna Karanam from Chicago. They were big book distributors, very successful. I was working with Prabhu and a few other famous big book distributors. I recorded the mantra. I asked them, you know, how do you say it? How do you do it? And so it wasn't just at one time. After hearing those who have become successful in book distribution, the tone of the voice and how they say it and the bodily gestures. So I recorded, I rehearsed it. I went on Sankirtan in the airport, and somehow Krishna very mercifully, the big book started going out, and we trained everybody in big book distribution in Miami. We spent 20 years in Miami airport, and the 10 of those years managing. In Miami, we had Srila Prabhupada's BBT, English BBT, finishing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Spanish and Portuguese BBT. We had the art department, Mother Jadharani was there. So when I actually was 9 years brahmachari, after I became president of the Miami Temple, you see how management sometimes brings you in. And we may want to be, there will be many brahmacharis who maybe will follow, like Prabhupada said, that his Guru Maharaj is Naishtika brahmachari, fixed. Obviously, we want to follow the Vedic standards, but many will get married. And that marriage, if it's actually to help one in his spiritual life, we're all struggling with the mind, struggling with the senses, trying to make the proper adjustments so that we're dutiful to our responsibilities for family. You have children, you want to make sure your children are properly being taken care of and get a good education. Maybe, especially in Indian society, help to marry off. Although Kali Yuga is progressing very quickly, people are becoming independent, not so much following culture and tradition. But Kali Yuga is so rampant, it's just so intolerable that this pandemic is, the last 2 years, putting everyone on their knees. But Maya, this Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mamaya Dharatya, Mame Baye Prapandite Mayame Tantarantite. When the first time I was going home to visit my family, the temple president, Narahari, he said, you learn this mantra, Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mamaya Dharatya. That this divine energy is difficult to overcome, but those who are surrendered can easily cross beyond it. So I just found, especially to keep me strong and steady in Sankirtan and the appreciation of Srila Prabhupada and the books of Srila Prabhupada, every day find a very quiet place and read Bhagavad Gita. I have 2 or 3 different books going at different times. And on the day we stayed back from Sankirtan, in Unamisharanya, we had 10 acres, 80 mango trees, 25 huge avocado trees. We had cows that produced incredible amount of milk, Bindusarova, a little lake, peacocks, swans, ducks. This was in Miami. It was very tropical and very private. So on that day that we stayed back, I would take Bhagavatam to the orchard of mangoes and reading it out loud, just seeing and hearing the birds and the sunshine and in the shade of the mango grove, hearing the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj and all the beautiful prayers of all the Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, the different demigods, reading Krishna book, it just transferred you to a different place. So the real solution, many times Prabhupada would receive letters, you know, I have this issue, I have that challenge. And Prabhupada, if you follow the rules and regulations and read my books, because whenever I'm having difficulty on Sankirtan, sometimes if any of you have been on Sankirtan, I'm not really sure of the whole audience. I'm sorry. Everyone is familiar with Krishna consciousness, or is this supposed to be an introductory?
Prabhuji, these are all devotees, and most of them participate in Sankirtan and book distribution.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Anyway, we all have this experience that on some days we find difficulties, you know, like nobody wants to talk to you, or, you know, no matter what you say, it doesn't come out right, and you feel awkward. You just don't feel the potency and Shakti. It's actually a little bit of a mind struggle. And so whatever books I'm distributing, I would stop and just read out loud and pray to Prabhupada and Krishna, please give me that guidance. And I tell you, I've been on the streets for many, many years, and I've always seen Krishna he comes through. Then like the clouds disperse, the sunshine comes in, then everything you say has magical results. People are practically attracted to you like magnets, you practically, no one says no. It's amazing. But then again, it depends on our level of surrender and faith. Like Srila Prabhupada, he had undaunting faith in the words of his spiritual master, even though he had the ability as a professional to become a very successful business magnate, very well-known, very, very wealthy. But he could see that he had a calling, he had a mission. And that calling was from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, from Lord Chaitanya. And it's almost a story of Prabhupada and his life and activities and his determination that's practically, you can't even make a movie out of something like this. It's just so incredible. And now we're seeing the results of Prabhupada putting forward that determination. And he was just trying to convince that in the early days to surrender wasn't easy, because there's only a Swami and he's got some books and nice philosophy, interesting music, but to give up your life and your life with your family and as we know it, and Prabhupada wasn't demanding, and he was just speaking the absolute truth in his own patient, mystical way, but at the same time, realizing that he's in a race against time. He is translating books. He needs to establish, he's envisioned how to give Krishna bhakti to the Western countries, how to train these, because this was a big issue. People were criticizing Bhaktisiddhanta's Srila Prabhupada that, oh, you're making malechas and the Brahmanas, you're ruining the Hindu religion, and you're involved in marrying off your disciples, and you're making them into sannyasis, and this is against our culture. But very strongly, shastrically, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada is also in the Shringa Guru. He has that same faith, that strength, that conviction, and the intellect and spiritual potency and purity to convince even the sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lavamata sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. Even just momentary association with Prabhupada made us convinced that we should dedicate our lives, dedicate our energy. I only like dancing in the kirtan and the Guru Puja in class. I never had that sit down face-to-face conversation with Srila Prabhupada, but always admiring from a distance and appreciating. I felt duty bound in one sense, just like Madan Mohan was our temple commander. So before I was on Sankirtan, I would say, okay, my duties from 10 to 5, what can I do? But nowadays, you have to search for where's the brahmacharis, where are the people who are dedicated? But there are also many dedicated. But in the early days, we did everything in the sense of cleaning, cooking, the deity worship, the festivals, prasad distribution. And by staying busy like that, so Srila Prabhupada, he was balancing between taking care of family, taking care of financial responsibilities, and helping the preaching. But he saw that time was getting to the point where he had dreamed, come, you go to the West and you preach this message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and save the fallen conditioned souls. And this is what Srila Prabhupada did. Those who are coming in contact with this society, either in the form of reading Prabhupada's books, but that is this association, like Rupa Goswami says, Dadati Pratigranati Guyam Yati Prishtiti, that by exchanging revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, the importance of the guru, giving gifts, receiving gift, offering prasad, receiving prasad. These are loving exchanges, even on a business sense, and like even families of ordinary persons who are not necessarily following devotional path. They also like to have gatherings for gifts and discuss whatever they're discussing. So devotees, one who's actually doing the devotional service and following the power of the chanting, will help one to get the realization, the strength of jnana vairagya. I'm just reading now about a Jamil. I just read Bhagavatam and I send it out to the devotees. But a Jamil, just like he had the proper upbringing, he was Brahmanically inclined. He actually had all the good qualities. Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavata Kinchana. That means of all the demigods, truthfulness, tolerance, cleanliness, proper behavior, and very respectful and clean, and knowing the mantras, knowing the ceremonies, the yagyas, had a nice wife, everything. But due to bad association, by seeing the loose character of intoxicated low-class people exposed and performing the different activities, Ajamil lost his Brahminical spiritual guidance to the point where he gave up all his yagyas, just like Bharat Maharaj, great emperor. He was emperor of the whole world, beautiful kingdom, family, riches, reputation, everything. But he renounced all of that for the purpose of devotional service. And he was on a very high level, very high spiritual level of understanding. Still, he became overly affectionate to a baby deer, which he felt obliged to take care of. So these are historical stories with details. The Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's words, and the first principles of Bhagavad Gita that were not the material body, were eternal spirit souls, but that the Maya, God's energies, allows us to forget so we can try to enjoy this temporary body. But actually we have a spiritual body, an eternal body, Satchidananda body, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. And this is the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna, he's walking Arjuna through what is karma yoga, what is jnana yoga, what is ashtanga yoga, what is devotional service, how the three modes of material nature are affecting one by passion, by lust, by greed, and how due to one's karma, he's born in a certain family, and how by the influence, karma daivana trena, that he's pushed by the modes of nature in a certain direction. It's described that the Lord is in the heart of every living being, sarvasya chaham hridi sanavishto. He's guiding us by giving us knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So Srila Prabhupada came to spark that remembrance. We've forgotten everything about the purpose and goal of life. Everyone has. The whole world's enamored by this. He could see, when he first came, by seeing all the billboards, he understood that everything's geared towards sense gratification. Everything's tried to be sold by a very beautiful woman. And everything's, industry, technology, all the different aspects of material existence were geared and focused on how one can gratify their senses in a more elaborate way. And no matter how much money we accumulate, and how much we expand our family and have, so many beautiful cars and buildings or whatever it might be, there's no happiness. It's a temporary, temporary flicker of happiness. But when you see that, and we hear in all the different religions that human life is a life of responsibility, then we have to think about that. It makes sense that who else is presenting the famous Bhagavad Gita, the words of God, of Prabhupada, as it is, when so many people, after reading Bhagavad Gita and seeing Prabhupada and or seeing the devotees of Prabhupada, they chose to follow and to further enlighten themselves or further understand what is this Krishna consciousness. So ISKCON, real Krishna consciousness, is Prabhupada's teachings. And the more we can fix our mind on the teachings of Prabhupada, the more strength we'll have. So somehow in Miami, back in the early 90s, I was coming to India every year practically from 77 on. But I brought my family to Vrindavan, so first to Mayapur in 90, end of 92, 93, March. And then from Mayapur festival, my son was 3 and then 7, my 2 boys. And when we came to Vrindavan, driving from Chatikara Road, the Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg Road to Vrindavan, yet is a special feeling where your hair stands on end. You're seeing Braj and understanding that this is the abode of the Supreme Lord manifest in this world, where he performed his pastimes, the Krishna Balaram, the cowherd boys, all the different activities that we're reading about in Krishna book. Krishna and Balaram were personally all over Braj area, Govardhan, Mathura, Vrindavan. So we just finished renovating our new home in Coconut Grove, the new location of the Miami Temple, finished my swimming pool and everything, but I packed up 11 trunks and we moved to India in 93 because my son said he'd like to go to school and I didn't want to send him off 10,000 miles away to school in India, in Vrindavan. So they gave me opportunity for management. I wasn't looking, but I became the vice president with Kadambakanda Maharaj. He was the president. And being in Vrindavan, I thought, okay, I wanted to, since we moved to Vrindavan, I wanted to read the Bhagavatam. So every day, out loud, reading Bhagavatam, attending morning and evening programs for the first, before I became the vice president. But I found it's true, it's 100 times, 1,000 times magnified. Because when you're hearing the bells and you're seeing the pilgrims and the temples and the excitement of Kartik and the excitement, every festival is so much more in your face, and everything is celebrated with great, what to speak of, Ekadasi. I live right near the Parikram path, so every morning you see eager pilgrims doing the Vrindavan Parikrama, and just the excitement when they come into Krishna Balaram temple, seeing Krishna Balaram, seeing Shri Shri Gaurnitai Radha Shama Sundar, and hearing the kirtan. We have 24-hour kirtan. Srila Prabhupada wanted, because Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam, Kalu Anasteva, Anasteva, Anasteva Gatiranyata. This age of Kali, the only sacrifice which we're capable of performing is Sankirtan Yajna. But that in itself is super, super powerful. The whole story of Ajamil, how he was pious enough to name his son Narayana, but he spent many years in a degraded, very sinful way. But he was calling out, not for any other purpose, out of love for Narayan. And so when the Yamadutas came to take him away under the order of Yamaraj, the Vishnudutas forbade them. And then they discussed, you don't even know what real religion is. so-called government and the leaders, they don't know who's punishable, who's unpunishable, what is right and what is wrong. They don't give proper guidance as how one should live their lives. So this holy name was being discussed, that simply by calling out the name of the Lord, one is freed from all sins from past, present, and future. It's very difficult to think, oh, how does that work and this and that. But having the faith that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Prahlad Maharaj is telling throughout the Bhagavatam, is telling Satatan Kirtayanto Man, constantly chanting the Lord's holy names. This is the Yuga Dharma. Golokya Premadam Harinam Sankirtan. Come from the spiritual kingdom in Lord Chaitanya, the Lord himself, Lord Balaram, Lord Nityananda. They were chanting and dancing. So, and a matter of fact, I just thought to put more energy. Every day we have our Mangal Arati and Tulsi Puja, but during Guru Puja in particular, just an appreciation of Prabhupada, because we're all talking 125th anniversary, very significant. It is very significant because he's the Acharya of the whole world. By his efforts, he's actually made Vrindavan and the Bhagavad Gita and the importance of bhakti and devotional service and the holy name popular. Otherwise, people had no conviction or clear understanding of what is the yajna, what is the sacrifice for this age. And he showed by his personal determination and example how to carry out the Sankirtan mission. So when the pilgrims are coming in, they're hearing this kirtan, they start dancing sometimes irresistibly. And the ladies are yodeling, and the different excitement is because of the beauty of seeing Krishna Balaram and the kirtan and the mystery of so many foreigners from Africa, from America, from Russia, from India. We have a mixed bag. And I find that the more we put our emphasis on the kirtan during Guru Puja, we take Prabhupada in procession 3 times around the temple and then inside the Samadhi 3 times in the uproarious kirtan, everyone jumping, dancing, and very, very ecstatic. I swear Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda are coming for that kirtan. And so this is our life, that we're participating in chanting. As Prabhupada said, even if you just come and sit and appreciate the beauty of the deities, you sit down, hear the holy name, chant the holy name, take prasadam, follow the rules and regulations, and keep good association. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. All perfection can come because a good association means that, like myself, I'm insignificant, but at the same time, when I see Shruta Kirti or Smarahari or Satyanarayan or Prita Prabhu, sometimes Guru Kripa, this one, some of the older devotees come, and because I said, look at 50% of our management or 50% of our responsibility, if we're there for the program, be there for the programs, participate in the all together glorifying the deities and the artiks and Tulsi Devi and Guru, and also in the festivals. These are all part of nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, that one follows Ekadasi, that one lives in the holy dham, one keeps good association, avoids the association of non-devotees or those who are sense enjoyers, simply looking to exploit, living on the bodily platform. We've seen in Vrindavan, many of our godbrothers have left. Just even 2 days back, we lost another devotee. And not say lost, but you can see how they're living, serving, and leaving in Vrindavan. And this is the perfection of life. Prabhupada was very happy to be in Vrindavan. And when he was traveling, he always think, oh, it'd be so nice to be again in the cowherd pastures with Krishna, you know, being with my old friend Krishna and the cowherd boys. But he had a mission, and wherever he was see Vrindavan. But his mission was one of saving the conditioned souls, preaching this Krishna bhakti. And many of us have been around 30, 40, 50 years. And still it's ever fresh and actually getting more exciting because we're getting older. You know, as we get closer to 70, 80, you know, the time is finished in this world. So whatever energy we have in this human form of life, we should utilize it for awakening our Krishna consciousness. We do our duties. My whole life is like that because I lived in the temple most of my time, even when I was president of Miami. I got married, but I also had several businesses too. It's not like I just didn't do anything, but at the same time, everything should be always keep Krishna as your foundation. The chanting of the holy name, the association, the reading. But we have to take care of responsibilities. And we pray to Krishna that as we get older and our children get older, then we should renounce. In a sense, 50 years old, 60 years old, we need to wrap it up and spend more time with hearing and chanting, maybe living in the Holy Dham, and spending our time with more focus on our chanting and service and preaching. I remember I was in traveling Sankirtan, 1976-ish. We were in Dallas, Texas, and I was having the talk with Satsvarup Maharaj, and he told me, given a chance to give class, don't let it pass. So I've always kind of felt that way, although sometimes you think, oh God, you know, what am I going to tell people to inspire them? Or, you know, everyone's heard the stories of Lord Vishnu creating the, you know, the universes from the pores of his body and the whole creation and how we're all entrapped in material life. I mean, if you look at the Bhagavatam, there's so much what we think is discussion of the same subject matter in various ways, because we are thickly engrossed on the bodily platform. To get free from the subtle mind and the long trillions of years of birth and death in this world, the subtle, but it's not an easy affair. But everything's done automatically, simply by the mercy of Guru. Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru. One who has faith in Guru and Krishna, then he can become freed from this illusion. And it's not that we're just going to read books and or perform some austerities or some deep speculation with our huge brain and our self abilities. You know, everyone feels that they're very competent and very capable. It's not by our external efforts. This process of surrendering to Guru and having the mood of devotion and humility, like the Goswamis. Imagine you're a big, powerful, wealthy minister, and in your society is all the leaders, but then just to renounce, live in a very simple loincloth and just writing religious books and preaching and Braj, living under a different tree. It's like how you can imagine that, but we're not to imitate. Even Prabhupada said many of my Western or different devotees from different parts of the world who are accustomed to live in different lifestyles, not everyone's going to be living in the same way. We're not living under a different tree here in Vrindavan, but at the same time, if our dedication and our efforts are used for the preaching mission of Srila Prabhupada, then we can understand he'll be happy. I don't know if Dr. Gore wanted me to say anything specific. I just feel that whenever Prabhupada, if you hear his lectures and you read his books, everything is to shake us and awaken us to the urgency of following this Vedic process. I just finished reading the 5th canto of the Hellish Planets, and boy, they are hellish. And we might, what appears to be ordinary behavior, acceptable behavior, and what everyone else is doing is actually falling off the edge of a cliff into a burning hot oil pit, you know, in the sense that, and everyone's following blindly, thinking, oh, it can't be so bad, everyone's doing it, so it must be okay to do that, you know, to hunt after sense gratification and or just simply taking intoxication or being cruel or liar, cheater, envious, jealous, all these demonic qualities. Ishvaraham, Aham Bhogi, Siddhoham, Balavan Sukhi, I'm perfect, I'm happy, I'm powerful, I don't need anybody. We do, because when old age, disease, and death come, you're all alone. You're in the ocean, you're swimming, you're all alone. Nobody can help you. We're all gonna have to be by ourselves in one sense. You think, oh, my friend will come over and help me swim. You're in the ocean and everyone's struggling just to stay above the water line. So we need Garuda and Krishna by the order of Guru to come and save us. And the shelter is Krishna's name. We may not have an attraction, Lord Chaitanya said he didn't have attraction for the holy name. And or we may not like crowds, or we don't like, you know, politics of ISKCON and or this or that, this or that. Don't find a challenge or an excuse to give you a reason to not come and see the deities and or chant the holy name. Because nothing can change Srimad Bhagavatam, which is beautiful glorification of Krishna, his pastime, his activities. Not only that, but also his devotees, the greatness of his devotees. Srila Prabhupada is obviously Shaktivesh avatar, empowered, non-different than Krishna, just like Lord Jesus is non-different than Krishna. The pure devotee and Krishna, they're one in purpose and one in service. So we all feel very fortunate, very happy. Whenever we got introduced to Krishna consciousness, we should be happy. Now you're part of the family, that you should eagerly read and eagerly serve. Have that service mentality. Gopi, Bharatu, Padakumariyo, Das, Anudas. I want to serve, because one who's serving the Vaishnavas, the Goswamis, then one can get free from lust. One can get free from envy and jealousy. And Bhagavatam kicks out all this enviousness and jealousy. And the only way to see Vrindavan and to experience a higher level of being free from this lust is by good association, carefully following the orders of the Guru. And I know maybe it may sound overly simplistic, but chant rounds nicely and hear very nicely. But back in the days of 93 or what, when I was vice president, we had no cell phones, and the landlines were always being broken by the monkeys, mischievous monkeys. They never allowed us to use their phones much. But I just remember the parikramas, going out seeing Bhakti Churumaraj filming a Bhai Charan, or the different yatras coming from all over the world for Mayapur, Vrindavan festivals, Kartik. Prabhupada is here, you know, in the kirtan, the spiritual potency, Narada Muni. We just read Krishna book about the appearance of Lord Krishna, how wonderful it is, and how the mudhas, the rascals, they misidentify the Lord. But he comes to attract us to the beauty of Vrindavan, comes to attract us to the eternality of his associates and the love that Krishna was receiving from Mother Yashoda. the personal, deep, intimate relationship that Krishna had with the cowherd boys and the cowherd girls on different levels, not only in Vrindavan and Dwarka, Mathura. So this is very important. I know it may not be according to our time schedule, but the fact is you've taken an hour, hour and a half of your time to come and listen something, even though I have nothing, I'm insignificant, but still as Prabhupada's representative, we become significant because we're simply trying to repeat the words of Prabhupada. And the nicer we hear, the more we hear, the more we can speak. And very clearly, and the realization is Gyan and Vigyan, Jnana Vairagya. The more we cultivate knowledge and understanding by reading and association, hearing and chanting, then real renunciation will come. Prabhupada was not ready to take sannyas. He didn't want, he had the responsibilities, but then more and more, as the mission of his Guru Maharaj was pushing him and motivating him to, then that was it. He just full dedication, not that he wasn't, but he's showing that anybody from any level of their lives, it doesn't matter their family, their responsibilities, their encumberments, their entanglements. This knowledge is the perfection of religion. It is the purest knowledge, is everlasting, joyfully performed. And every word of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita has newer and newer realizations. We shouldn't think, oh, I've read that already. Not like that. Even if you read the Bhagavatam every day for the rest of our lives, it'll be ever fresh and new. And I'm still amazed, from the first canto to the second canto, third, fourth, fifth, they all have a very scientific, spiritually scientific angle behind them with so many different circumstances which we can relate to, and showing us how the great devotees actually not only overcome them, but actually give you a vivid example of Prachina Bharishat, of Maharaj Rahugana with Jad Bharat, the conversations, the interpersonal relationships, and ultimately the guidance, how we can perfect our lives. So I feel fortunate that I have a chance to be in Vrindavan and address all of you something. And I think that we have a good shelter. We have a wonderful father. Srila Prabhupada is our father. He's our grandfather. And he's our protector. He's a source of inspiration that we feel indebted. Naturally, a son would feel indebted to his father, like Prahlad Maharaj, even though his father wanted to kill him and torture him. He just asked the Lord, please, you save my father. He said, no issues. And devotees' whole family is saved, so many generations. So we need that confidence, that conviction that I will use my intelligence to do what I need to do, but the answers will come to you and to me and to all of us by following Srila Prabhupada's words in his books and daily hearing Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. It's very important because we have a tendency to forget. In Kali Yuga, we're slow in spiritual advancement. We're always ready for a good fight, good argument, because, our ego got ruffled the wrong way. And people are basically not that inclined towards God consciousness. Everyone in this material world, that's like a prison house, you have prisoners. So we're all prisoners in this house of dirt. We're all punishable, actually. We're all punishable because all the activities have reactions to them. And the only way to be free of all that is to surrender to God, surrender to Krishna. By thinking of Krishna, by chanting Krishna. This is giving up so-called religions, meaning that everyone has a good speculation about what life's all about, or maybe doesn't care because they think, well, nobody knows, so let's do whatever we want to do. This is not a responsible action of one who really is looking to inquire about who am I, what is the purpose of my life, and how will I achieve it. We can try to help everybody, we can help our family, we can help our nation, but the best help we can give everyone is that we ourselves become Krishna conscious and we introduce others to Srila Prabhupada's books that'll also guide them, protect them. That'll be the boat. Otherwise, we're drowning alone in the ocean, and there's no real benefit and hope. So again and again, we hear this philosophy of surrender to Guru, inquire submissively, render nice service. We're active, must be very, very active. Prabhupada said, do as I am doing. So Srila Prabhupada showed, not only was he translating, publishing books, writing letters, managing with all the difficulties of people who are totally unfamiliar with the Vedic way or the spiritual path of austerity, of brahmacharya, of rules and regulations. You know, think, oh, it's too many rules and regulations. If you're really sick, the doctor's going to restrict your behavior. He's going to give you a certain diet. So we have a certain diet, Krishna Prasadam, and we have a certain behavior, lots of hearing and chanting. And we have some prohibitions. Stay away from the gossipers, fault finders, and people who want to waste their time with politics and or conspiracy theories, because that's a big waste of time, in the sense that the eternal identity is not going to change. It's not going to better our sentiments of devotional service and surrender to Krishna. So what do you think? Should we have a few questions? Or do you want me to say something in a specific area?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then it's for now. Prabhuji, one point I liked very much that you mentioned was during book distribution, when you face some difficulty, so you pray to Srila Prabhupada, and then as if the clouds part apart, and then sun comes out, and then whatever you speak, it becomes so mystical, and that's really very touching and very inspiring for me. And also there are few messages. Achyut Arjun Sakha Prabhu is mentioning that I wish I had a drop of conviction and faith which Prabhuji has to Sri Guru and Sri Krishna. It is critical for my generation to follow and continue this legacy. That's something that Prabhuji is mentioning. And there is a question over here. Richa Mataji is asking that she had started following the principles of Krishna consciousness a year back, and her chanting is still not regular. What can I do? And she is mentioning that she's past 33 years and she's feeling that she has wasted all this time, and nobody in her family is in association with devotees. There's a lot of guilt that is coming in. So, and then also third question is that she is asking what is the right age to include kids into or indulge kids into chanting and reading. So these are her concerns.
Okay, a lot of good questions, very good questions. I have two grandsons, and before I left Florida 2 years ago, I've been stuck in Vrindavan in a nice way because of the pandemic for 2 years. But I always tell them, listen, you got two rules. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And how do you always remember Krishna? They would chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I have a nice relationship in that sense with them. And obviously, we, like Prahlad Maharaj said, from Kaumarang Acharet Pragya, from the very beginning of life, meaning like 5, 6, 7 years old, the Gurukul system starts, and they're introduced to Krishna consciousness with chanting, dancing, and beautiful stories. Obviously, they're going to have their childish activities and their playful activities. So as long as we ourselves are developing our Krishna consciousness, setting a good example, we can hope that just giving them the best guidance we can, that they will appreciate our endeavor and our own sincerity. And Prabhupada was also feeling the way you were feeling, that he met his Guru Maharaj at 1922, but he was only a young man at that time. He said, I should have taken my Guru Maharaj's mission back then, otherwise I wasted so many years on trying to become successful and do, you know, balance between family and business and spirituality and whatnot. So it's perfect anytime. Prabhupada said you can become Krishna conscious in 1 second, 1 moment. Just see Dhruv Maharaj, a matter of just 5-6 months, he achieved such a level of Mahabhagavat due to his austerities. We're not Dhruva Maharaj, we're not Prahlad Maharaj. We're struggling souls in Kali Yuga. But you've joined, you should feel fortunate. 30 years, okay, that's still, compared to many, it's still a great time. I was 19, young, 66. Time goes by fast. So you may think, oh, well, you're lucky. But as I mentioned, we can't judge by the amount of years that, you know, one's age and or, oh, well, he's been chanting for 50 years, so, you know, he must be way up there. Everybody has their individual time. So whenever Krishna comes to you through the mercy of Prabhupada or the devotees, just embrace it and just say, from this day on, my Lord, I want to increase my devotion. Just like the japa may not be steady, the chanting it may not be steady. So spend some time in a very systematic way. Read out loud. I sometimes start my morning, I chant a little japa, and I have to read like almost an hour of Bhagavatam in the morning. It really just like washes everything, clears the slate, and gets you ready for the whole day. And you have the determination to chant better. I'm not saying that everyone should change their, you know, follow that. But for me, according to my managerial schedule and the different things that I do, I find early morning committed reading is essential for steady strength. So you'll get better in your japa, the more and more that you'll appreciate your reading. And the reading, when read out loud with a little bit of emphasis. I remember last year we were doing virtual Braj Mandala Parikram, Loknath Maharaj's Braj Mandala Parikram, because the pandemic was postponed. So we did a virtual. And last October, I even had heavy COVID. And I remember I was recording the chapters because I was narrating. And from that, I could see that it's really important to, for me, not everyone will agree, but to read out loud. I like spending some time in this with expression. The one devotee who's telling me, well, make it a little more dramatic. So now that we have to make it dramatic, but really don't read it just in a monotone. Hear it. Try to let it, sink in a little bit in our thick heads, in our hearts, because what's being said is so valuable and so meaningful that it will eventually stick, and there'll be a mood change, and you'll be able to chant better rounds, and you'll be able to feel good about, doesn't matter whether you're 30, 40, 50, 60, whenever you have that chance to take the mercy of Krishna. Look at Jamil. He lost it from like 20 years old till 80. So 60 years he wasted and heavy nonsense. But still, he was fortunate enough by Krishna's grace to be saved at the very end. I saw many devotees go away, but towards the end of life, Prabhupada made the arrangement for them to be in the association of other devotees in a good place and leave in a very glorious way. So you have every opportunity, and give your children as much of Krishna consciousness according to their ability to absorb it, you know. Set a good example.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Shrikant, Prabhu, you want to ask a question? Okay. Okay.
They're all satisfied?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Prabhuji. Okay.
No, it's definitely been very challenging for the world in particular. The devotees, you know, are seeing loved ones in a struggling situation, people losing their jobs, people losing their faith in life in general. So now is a very important time for the devotees to be strong, because, like, okay, I'm the president. So if I'm in bad consciousness, everybody knows it. If I, you know, and we all need leadership. So Prabhupada's our leader. And even after a very trying day, sometimes you just, oh, tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow will be better, and he'd retain his drive and enthusiasm. So we need to, despite any challenges that might be there, difficulties, because everyone thinks that their situation is unique and you know, worse than everybody else's. But everybody is being challenged by the modes of material nature. But our only shelter is the association of devotees and hearing and chanting about the Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. There is Shrikant Srinivas Prabhu is asking this question: how to work on our false ego, which is the cause of 6 anarthas?
Yeah, the false ego is a big problem, because no matter how much we try to not identify with the body or the place of birth or the color of our skin, or, you know, our impression of ourselves and what we think other people's impression of us is, these are various deeply ingrained impediments that keep us on the bodily platform. So that we don't have to separately necessarily try to develop all the godly qualities, but it's said that even like a person, I heard of an example, like a person who knows the power of fire, if he torches, you know, the dry grass, it'll go blazing. If a child also goes and doesn't understand the power, but it also blazes, it burns all the firewood. So we may not know the potency of the holy name and hearing the Bhagavad Katha, Krishna Katha, and just a mere Mahaprasad and association of devotees. But by that and following the regimen that our pure devotee Jagat Guru Acharya Srila Prabhupada has given us, it's a scientific spiritual formula that works on our false ego. So the more closely we can follow the doctor's recommendation, in this case, Prabhupada's our doctor, and the recommendation is more hearing and chanting, more association, have faith, even though after 30, 40, 50 years, we think, oh, I've been chanting so long, still I'm not feeling anything. We have to look at our offenses and look very carefully that we're following the basic rules and regulations and not creating any offenses. But the ego, it takes some time. When like say you don't want to get angry and you get angry, and then you think, oh gee, I really shouldn't have been that way. And so start recognizing some of our faults, and hopefully we can remedy and change our behavior to some degree. It's not easy to change, but it'll happen naturally by following the doctor's advice. After some time, the medicine takes effect and the disease goes away.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. I think
So-
Subramanian Prabhu is offering his gratitude, telling it's wonderful session.
But do log into ISKCONVrindavan.com. We have our new Champakalata Mataji is looking after that. We have a newsletter. We have all the lectures, the kirtans, the festivals. It seems like we had, like I said, incredible Balaram's appearance day, incredible Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja, and a few weeks Radhastami is coming. But we're hoping for the best. So wherever you are, you can tune in and see Krishna Balaram and gather inspiration. Prabhupada wanted that everyone, whether physically or nowadays even through the internet, you can gather your inspiration by seeing the beauty of Krishna Balaram, Radhashama, Sundalita, Vishaka, Gaurnitai, and just seeing the excitement of the kirtan and the participation at the Vrindavan temple. Very inspiring.
Yes, Prabhuji. Always remember the Mangalarati in Vrindavan. It's so special and amazing.
Okay.
Who is our leader? Like we have a center in the hub, in the IT hub of Bangalore, and he's just trying to buy a land here and come up with a temple. And he's himself an engineer, bro, but a full-time brahmachari.
Yeah, I've noticed actually a lot of the intellectual and those who studied and which are introduced to Krishna consciousness, they're going to be helping us in the future, because how thing will go, how this society and movement will go on is through management, proper management, expert management, obviously based on the philosophy, but all of you are very valuable for the future development of Prabhupada's society. You know, I mean, a lot of us, we joined very young that didn't have that kind of college education, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't give it much credit, but still it's a sign that you have intelligence and you have ability to accomplish. So yes, let's inspire all of the intelligent. Prabhupada wanted to address the scientists. He met with philosophers, government leaders, very, very popular personalities who are influential in society. He met them because he understood that by giving them a chance for Krishna consciousness, what they say can affect many. So all of you, educated and have that ability, can also help in the preaching Sankirtan mission. You should feel like this is your calling.
Yeah, no doubt. There is a question, Prabhuji. There is one more question from Vijay Narasimha Prabhu, a very interesting one. He's paying his obeisances to you and asking that thank you so much for such a wonderful session. It always awes me how men and women in the prime of their youth surrendered their lives to the mission of a sannyasi, which is Prabhupada, from a foreign country. I also wonder if it was all arranged by Lord, time, place, and circumstance.
Yes, this is all arranged by the Lord. Agyata Sukriti may be there. Srila Prabhupada is blessing us and like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is being praised. Namo Mahavadanyaya. You're the most merciful incarnation because you're freely distributing this love of God for everybody. You're inundating everyone. And you're ordering us that Priti Vitaya Chayata Nagaradigram Sarvatra Prachara Hoive Moranam. Every town and village, you need to spread this mission. Bharat Bhumi, those who are born in Bharat Varsha, is their specific duty, but he's saying every human being. So in that sense, a lot of us in India, they're brought up with Krishna and, the different incarnations and worshiping Durga and Sangha. So it's actually a little bit more difficult, because if you think you already know, I've heard Krishna, I already know. But we didn't know anything about Krishna, or didn't know about the philosophy of reincarnation necessarily, that we're not the body spirit. So Prabhupada, after giving some sample lectures and seeing, he said, oh yes, we need a Radha Krishna temple. These people are looking for something. And so in one sense, we were fortunate to be ignorant, whereas after Prabhupada figured out 100% that he'll bring the Westerners and Europeans and Africans and Latins, bring them to India. And then they'll think, oh my God, these people are following our culture. We should look more closely into it. And then it became more viable that look at the foreigners are dedicating their lives at an early age, men, women, and just, giving up their material life and surrendering to the guru. And now we're seeing so many also in Bharat are doing the same surrender, which is, like I said, probably the future. There'll be an army of Lord Chaitanya's soldiers, which will be needed to really give proper guidance to humanity for the next 10,000 years, because we're in darkness right now. People are struggling and suffering all over the world due to a lack of Krishna consciousness. So we have a big job.
Thank you, Prabhuji. There's Srikant Srinivas Prabhu, who is saying, thank you, Prabhu. It's a wonderful session. And your personal experience on reading Srimad Bhagavatam before chanting, it's like to make the slate clean. It's a good takeaway for me to practice.
Okay. Thank you. Well, at least you kept me Krishna conscious for the last 2 hours. That was your mercy.
You helped us, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. We understand you are so busy right at the center of everything. So
I think I'm busy trying to work on my false ego, reading Bhagavatam and playing my harmonium. I really enjoy the kirtan with the boys, and a good kirtan, nothing like it, and you got some good musicians and everybody's eagerly chanting and hearing. It's nice. It moves you.
Yeah. Prabhuji, can we have pleasure of your kirtan for 2 minutes, if you could?
You want to my kirtan for 2 minutes?
Yeah, if you can.
All right, I got a harmonium here. Let me see what kind of kirtan we can do for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
How about we should sing the Sringadev?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes. Whatever you wish.
I wish many things. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram,
Jaya
Krishna
Krishna,
Balaram, Krishna
Krishna
Balaram,
Balaram,
Jaya
Krishna.
Balaram. Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radhe Shyam, Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Lalita Vishaka
Jaya
Radhe Shyam,
Krishna,
Lalita
Lalita
Vishaka
Vishaka
Jaya
Jaya
Radhe Shyam, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Jai
Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol,
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. So every day after the Guru Puja, and we finish going around the temple 3 times and inside the Samadhi 3 times, devotees are soaked because of their chanting and dancing and jumping. And we just like ended up in such a way that you just feel like you've left the material world and went to the spiritual world.
That is what devotees are sending their messages, like it was blissful kirtan and it was absolutely mesmerizing and it was awesome and they're thanking you. Like a full package and a very wonderful pravachan, a lecture.
When I see all of you in person, we'll have a in-person class. I have a hard time talking to computers, but that's okay. I understand that there's live people on the other end, but yes, and when you come to Vrindavan, we'll have kirtan, Katha, and Prasad. See you again.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Manji.
Thank you.
Panchagauda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Jai, Jai, Jai. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.